Hi, everyone. I'm still in Hebrews. Um, so I ran across this. It's still at the very beginning of Hebrews, verses 10 and 12 in the first chapter. It says, "In the beginning, Lord, you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment. You will roll them up like a robe, like a garment. They will be changed, but you remain the same, and your years will never end." This is an Old Testament passage, and it's applied to Christ. It's about Jesus. And Hebrews is a book that was written to Jews. That's why it's called Hebrews. Uh, and the early church struggled because for so many years it was predominantly Jewish. Acts talks about the Gentiles and the expansion through Paul because that was one of the biggest changes that was being made. Um, the religion was changing, that the fulfillment of Jesus was changing the way God was worshiped and the whole understanding of salvation. So the whole of Hebrews is trying to show through the Old Testament that Jesus is greater than the temple and greater than Moses and greater than Melchizedek and greater than anything. So this passage talks about Jesus as being the creator, and in doing so, Jesus totally eclipsed the old temple religion. And Jesus was considered the fulfillment of the law and the sacrifice. So there were no more sacrifices, and the law had basically changed. The writer, though, stresses the permanence of Jesus. All the things that we hold so tightly to are going to be gone at some point. Jesus is the creator of the universe. And Jesus, therefore, was around before the universe. And he will be around after the universe. He's eternal. And um, there's nowadays, science wants us to think of ourselves as eternal spirits, and so on. But the fact is that nobody has found a solution to death. Uh, we might live 1,000 years, it's still death, and it is an end. And that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Everybody fears death. But as far as the universe goes, science is trying its best to find a way for the universe to also be eternal, to be cyclic, to something going on continually. And they speculate that we exist in a multiverse. And that's a complicated idea, but basically that there are many universes that are either parallel or crisscross with ours, and that's where a lot of science is headed. Uh, but science is about what we can test and see and experience, and what we have that we can see anyway is a universe that is running down. And eventually, uh, science calls it, I believe, a cold death, that all the energy in the universe will be dissipated. And that even the atoms themselves, the electrons, neutrons, and everything under that, which is energy, will run down. It's going to take a long time, but nevertheless, there is an end point. Not only that, but the universe is speeding up. It's expanding faster and faster, which means that all the stars are going away from each other. The edge of the universe is expanding. And there will come a time, and it's not just expanding, it's actually speeding up. There will come a time when we won't be able to see any stars or galaxies or anything. They're just going to the galaxies are spreading out. It's an interesting thing that science can prove, according to what it has now, that there's an end game to our universe, because it's wearing down. And this is what this passage describes. It's wearing out like a garment. It's becoming frayed. And also the part of us that is living in this creation is also wearing out. I mean, look at me, a shadow of what I used to be. It's the physical part. It's aging, and it's living through this world for this tiny little speck of time. Even if the universe is eternal, I don't think it is. It doesn't matter, because the universe ends when I do. My personal universe ends when I breathe my last. But the part of me that is in Christ, that is hidden in Christ, will be recreated, and it will be eternal. And it won't be just eternal, it will be glorious, because we will be what we were created to be in the first place. No more tears, no more struggles, no more sorrows, no more aging. It's hard to imagine that, but that is the end. That's what we reach for. So holding tightly to this life is ultimately futile. All the sayings about you can't take it with you, a shroud has no pockets, all that kind of stuff. It's absolutely true. Once I breathe my last, that's it. If the universe goes on forever, I'm not going to be aware of it. So ultimately, there's this futility apart from Christ. And for those people who don't have Christ, it's the futility of death and taxes. You can't get around it. The more we grasp this life, the more it escapes like smoke from our grasp. But holding tightly to the relationship with Jesus brings eternal benefits. And may God grant us the grace and strength to hold on tight to that every day, every week. And let's help each other to do that.